The coronavirus outbreak continues to affect the daily lives of Americans as sports have been canceled, travel to European countries has been restricted, and grocery stores are being stripped of products due to panic buying. Texas Tech has also been affected by the coronavirus or COVID-19 as Texas Tech University Systems extended spring break for one more week. Classes will continue on March 30th, but they will be strictly online until further notice. Some employees under Texas Tech University Systems are able to work from home, but the majority of faculty and staff will continue to work on campus. Residence halls and dining halls will remain open to students that have nowhere else to go. Sports cancellations because of COVID-19, also known as the coronavirus, have also affected Texas Tech athletics. The men's and women's NCAA basketball tournaments have been canceled, as well as spring sports, including baseball, softball, track and field, golf, and tennis. This is all done to try and flatten the curve of the coronavirus outbreak by social distancing and limiting large crowds. As a result, the NCAA has allowed another year of eligibility for the spring senior student athletes. In response to the coronavirus outbreak, Alamo Drafthouse has closed all of its locations temporarily until further notice. This includes the location here in Lubbock that you see behind me, located on Loop 289 and Slide Road. All tickets have also been refunded according to a news release sent out by Alamo Drafthouse. This comes after multiple movie releases have been affected by the coronavirus, including A Quiet Place Part 2 and Black Widow, just to name a couple that have had their releases delayed. Other movie theaters in Lubbock have also closed down temporarily, including Cinemark and Stars and Stripes Drive-In movie theater.
Genetically, they are bred to be dog aggressive, animal aggressive. So a lot of them are, but there's varying degrees. So some have zero dog aggression or animal aggression, and some have really high. A lot of times when it's high aggression, it's usually because they have what's called high prey drive, which means they like to chase, whether that's rabbit, chicken, things like that. And so a lot of times where pit bulls get into trouble and get labeled aggressive, it's when people leave them out to do things they shouldn't be doing. Like they catch like a cat, something like that. It's normal. A lot of it, you'll hear people say, oh, it's the way they're raised. It's not. It's the way they're managed. And so if you have two pit bulls that you leave in a backyard, or two, any dog, to their own devices, sometimes arguments can happen. And so then it gets labeled as aggressive.
It's hard because most people, whether it's a dog, a race, a religion, wherever the bias they formed, it's usually hard to change their mind. But I try to relate it to that because no matter what it is you have a bias towards, it's not right. Like, you shouldn't form a general opinion of a group of dogs, people, anyone, just based on one experience or one thing you've heard. So I relate it to racism and sexism and bigotry of any kind, because if you can judge a group of animals, they're dogs, if you can judge them and hate them just because you had one bad experience or you heard so-and-so had a bad experience, it's ignorant. And so it makes you close-minded, and I just tell people to meet one. There's so many great dogs we have here. If you just hang out with one, you shouldn't form your opinion based on anything other than your own experience with the dog. And if, there are true bad experiences people have had, but I just try to tell them not to judge the whole breed based on that.
We have a lot of pit bulls, and I know they have a stereotype, but 90% of the pit bulls I've ever encountered have been some of the sweetest, most loving animals. That other 10% will put the fear of God in you, but overall they're a really gentle breed. Well, I started with the department 6 years ago last month. Started as a field officer, so I was out running calls, and you get a call on an aggressive animal, and I've seen animals, every kind of dog is been called in as an aggressive, and a lot of people, when they see the pit bull, they just call in and say, hey, that's an aggressive dog. And when you get out there and get to talking to them, they went just by looks alone. The dog may not have been growling, raising his hackles, showing any signs of aggression, but because it's a pit bull, they take it as it's an aggressive animal. Probably one of the scariest calls I did in the field was a Rottweiler. He was probably waist high, probably weighed way over 100 pounds, and me and him went at each other for quite a while. And he was probably the scariest dog I ever encountered out by myself. Obviously, I had calls where there were truly aggressive pit bulls, but I do think it's more of a myth. And as far as part of your question, as far as studies, I think if you want to say pits are dangerous, you can bring up stats to prove that. If you want to say they're gentle family dogs, I think you can come up with stats to prove that. So I take it on a case-by-case basis, an animal-by-animal basis, and try not to just generalize one breed over another. I've said many times that I don't know that I've ever seen a mean mastiff or a mean boxer. So that's a generalization, and I shouldn't be saying that, because I'm sure there are mean boxers and mean mastiffs, but I think it's hard to just say one breed is more violent than another breed.
Students on the Texas Tech campus give their advice on sleeping, eating healthy, and how to counter all of the stress. This is Jack Densmore reporting for College of Media Communications on the Texas Tech campus.
Well, really it's just I do all the homework and stuff, so I kind of work through that. And if I'm really struggling, then I'll go back over the homework. If you have problems I have trouble with, I'll redo those. That's about it. This is the culmination of everything you've learned.
There are a lot of resources out there like Quizlet, so you don't have to stress about like making your own study guides and stuff. Or if you're in a sorority, older girls have like tons of notes and stuff, or talk to your professor. Tons of different things you can do. You need a lot of sleep. Don't stay up all night and study for a final, because it doesn't work. I've tried it. Make sure you're eating like 3 meals a day, breakfast before you take the final, because you'll be hungry and it'll be miserable. And don't drive home after you took a final, because it never works either.
There's no such thing as understudying or overstudying, I would say. Make sure you're prepared. Don't overthink it, I'd say is probably the best advice, or else you will probably do bad.
Although being prepared for the finals, there's a lot of emphasis on the time management when finals come around. This includes when to eat, sleep, and also study.
Eat breakfast, because then you'll be hungry all day. If you don't eat breakfast, you probably won't eat during the day. Eat a lot when you eat breakfast too. I'd probably say that.
Students are already preparing for the crunch time of finals, as finals are right around the corner. So for students, remember to not wait to the last minute to start preparing. Jack Densmore reporting for the College of Media Communications at Texas Tech.